Well, Marvel had just emerged from bankruptcy when I came as CEO. It had been in bankruptcy for about 2 years. Of my 7 turnarounds, 5 were new industries, completely different from anything that I had done before. So I was very used to going into environments where maybe I didn't have a background in the particular business. I do think that it's actually in a turnaround a positive to have some people come in that are completely learning a new business because they can see the craziness that may have existed and is the cause for the company being near bankruptcy or being weak and needing, a lot of change. And so for me, it was very clear to me very quickly that we weren't going to compete the way other people did that made films or comic books. We were going to change the rules of the game, and we could see, some of the flaws, the warts of those industries, and avoid them, and in fact do things quite differently. And I will tell you that the reason Marvel was successful was not just that we made very good films and comic books, but our culture was completely different from anyone else. The value system that we put in, myself and the board, we had a great board, was this: we're going to take risks, we're going to change the rules of the game and not like the other people. And needless to say, the rest is history.
A lot of people talk about culture, and they get the values and they write them up on the wall, they laminate them, they put them up there, and that's what you're supposed to stand for. But it's another thing to really drive it deep in your company. So let's take this idea of risk being a risk taking culture. How'd you drive that? How'd you drive that in your organization so it wasn't just the board and the people in the corner office believe it?
So, David, I gotta say that I agree with you on one thing. Putting something on a plaque and putting it up on the wall does nothing for change. What we need is quality leadership to espouse what the culture will be, and for that leadership to back it up with their actions. Talk is very cheap, and nobody in the organization is going to believe you until they see your own behavior. And in a turnaround, there are lots of opportunities to back up what you're saying because you're going to need to make a lot of change. And for me, culture is 2 facets. One is how we're going to treat each other, flat and simple. How we're going to treat each other in the organization, and how we're going to treat our business partners outside the organization. Do we respect our customers? Believe it or not, a lot of the turnarounds I went to didn't respect the customer. I know it sounds wild, but are we going to work closely with our suppliers, to do the best job we possibly can? What about our investors? What about, and so on and so forth. Equally important in every turnaround, that part of the culture was messed up, was crazy, actually, in some cases. The second part of culture to me is, all right, what do we have to do as a business to really prosper? What do we need to get an A+ in? We want to be A+ in everything, but the reality is we're not, because no one is ever A+ in everything. But what are the ones that we really want to have to be A+? Is it new products? The way we, treat customers? Is it our advertising that projects a company that, customers will value, not just for the products or the services, but for what we believe in? It's all those things. And amazingly, in a lot of these businesses, what they had to be really good in, they were just the opposite.